that is, for now, a government that doesn't encroach too much, at least compared to those guys.
I think it's politics again with the governor, or with the president.
Well, your governor is also doing it, yeah.
Well, here, I run a small business. I mean, when you raise the minimum wage, it's not a Democrat or a Republican issue. It's an employee issue. You're raising all the rates along with it, percentages, payroll tax, the cost of Obamacare, sick leave. When you're a small business, you don't have a huge bench of people.
So what do you think when he's adding to that and saying, well, it's the right thing to do because you sound California doing it? But then you're saying, well, then all these other guys are doing it, and in the same breath you're saying, we're dwarfing their jobs gains, and I'm thinking, maybe because we don't demand all that yet.
Well, we do right now in upstate New York, is where our business is located. We feel the pain of all these things with the high tax rate in New York State. But when you add costs to the bottom line, that makes us non-competitive. It forces us to lay off. It forces us to use machinery. In the past, we've had to lay off workers because it was more efficient and more cost-effective.
You really had to do that. So when the governor in your state, New York, Governor Andrew Cuomo, has talked about a two-tiered minimum wage, a little less outside the city. I think it's $11.50 versus what was going to be $10.50. How's that going to go down with you? And what do you think it's going to do to businesses?
All those people will come up to upstate New York and we'll have the business there. But it's going to affect
they want it. I think guys like you want it.
Well, yeah, it's going to be hard for us to compete. Don't forget, our business is not, we're not competing with a guy down the street. We run a pharmaceutical packaging firm. We compete across state borders, even across country lines. We compete with Mexico, Canada. So if we're having higher costs, and payroll's the biggest nut to fill, I mean, that is a huge amount. And when you add completely to the bottom line on payroll, what you end up with is huge costs. We're not competitive. We have to lay off.
What if the government is putting that bill? He seemed to intimate there's a way to have the government foot the bill.
By us paying more taxes.
That's exactly right? Because that's what it's all about.
Right, and so it's an inflationary measure, so the cost of everything goes up. And in our case, we can't do anything about that. If they have lower wages across the border in Pennsylvania or other states, which they actually do right now, what are we going to end up? We're going to end up still being higher. Plus, you have the highest regulatory burden in the country in New York State added to us. So our compliance costs, everything that we must deal with as a New York business. So that's the struggle.
Well, obviously you don't know anything about business just because you run a business. I mean, you should have been a community organizer. You would have been on top of this. Assemblywoman, great seeing you. Thank you very much. President Obama says that a drop in the deficit and these deficits that are getting smaller each year are a sign that the skeptic got it all wrong. So we thought we'd talk to his former debt commission co-chair, Alan Simpson, what he makes of that. Alan, what he ignored was just the debt that's piled up, because no matter how small those deficits are, they're just piled up on top of the debt, and that is